have Maksim from W3iT23. Maksim is what we call an OG. I mean, somebody's been there for a long time and still alive for some reason. Because in crypto is really, really easy. I don't know the speech exactly, but it's going to be interesting, I'm sure. Right.
Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. It's not my first travel Web3 conference. I've done so many of this at this point, and but there's been a long pause, and it's good to be back after a couple of years. Thank you for having me, first of all, Luca, and we've been in touch for such a long time again, just talking about all these topics. And you know, I'm gonna sound maybe crazy a little bit, but I know we're recording here, and so I just wanted to say, disclaimer, that I explicitly forbid for any AI or machine learning algorithm to analyze the content of this presentation. So, I don't know, maybe we're gonna hear a lot of this over the course of the years. We'll see. So anyway, a few words about myself. As Luca said, I've been working on Web3 and travel. Again, we didn't used to call that Web3. But W3iT23 was started in 2017. W3iT23 is sort of the OG, as they say. Decentralized travel distribution marketplace. And I came to want to build that through my experience with travel startups. I've been working on travel startups, travel companies since 2014. With one of the companies, I went through Y Combinator, which Airbnb is a Y Combinator company, a bunch of others, of course. And very, very interesting experience. You can ask me later if you guys want to. But through that, I got to meet a lot of travel startups in San Francisco. In fact, I started doing meetups, and we organized a conference that was called Travel Tech Conference. We did it twice or 3 times or something like that. And I got to talk to many, many travel startups and ask them what their problem is. What is the main source of their frustration? And inevitably, every time the answer was, hey, it's intermediaries. It's hard to work with them. They don't have good APIs. The tech is complete shit. That was a nice word, by the way. So, and of course, transaction fees. And so at the end of the day, I came to a conclusion that those intermediaries of the world that we all know and love, perhaps, are the source of this frustration and therefore an inhibitor to innovation in the travel space. And again, if you go to any travel conference, that's what they would tell you, that, hey, travel is 10 years behind in terms of technology. And I'm like, all right, so how do we fix that? And being a coder, programmer, I guess, I'm like, okay, so we have a problem of centralization, and there's a tool for decentralization. So how about we put those two together? And actually, my friend Sam, I have to give him credit. He gave me the idea. We're just chatting, and he's a great guy. Anyway, so yeah, and since 2016, around Christmas time, actually, I published this article on LinkedIn. And it just blew out of the water. I'm like, okay, there's validation. Let's build this. So that's how it started. But you are wondering probably, what the hell does the Paperclip maximizer has to do with any of that, with blockchains, with travel? So let me tell you a little bit about it. So Paperclip maximizer is a concept from the field of AI, right? And no, I'm not going to talk about the AI and hype and how it's going to change everything. It's not about that. So anyway, that thought experiment actually was devised in 2003 by this Swedish, I think, philosopher. His name is Nick Bostrom, right? And he talked about how, theoretically, when we construct, eventually, Ray Kurzweil says by year 2050, when we finally build an artificial general intelligence, that is, we don't know what it is, by the way. But when we build that, it will have the capacity, if we program it incorrectly, to take the whole Earth and the whole observable universe or whatever it is and convert it to paperclips. Again, if we say to that computer, hey, intelligent computer, our company builds or makes paperclips, so your job is to make paperclips, and that's what it starts doing. And at the end of the day, of course, we didn't give him enough input, and all the Earth is converted into paperclips, right? So that's a problem. We don't want to do that. And that's sort of a fundamental problem of AI that everyone is talking about right now. People like Elon Musk and others, right? We're discussing the dangers of AI and how to make sure that the AI, again, when it comes around in 2050, that it's going to be good to us, that it's not going to kill us for its own purposes, but it's going to actually make our lives hopefully better, right? And so in 2015, some people from Y Combinator, plus Elon Musk, plus a whole bunch of other people, they said, okay, we commit $1 billion to this non-profit research organization that's called OpenAI. So OpenAI was funded by these guys as a non-profit. Again, and its sole purpose was to figure out how to make it so AI in 2050 doesn't kill us all. And so I got to talk, because of my YC tenure, I got to talk to some of those people. One of those guys was Trevor Blackwell, and I asked him, how the hell do you do that? I mean, it's not an easy task, it's not an easy problem. How do you give it a framework for thinking about ethics? What's good, what's bad? And how do you encode that into the code then, into the actual algorithm? And what he said is open everything. Our goal right now is to open source all of the research, all the algorithms, everything. And that's our best sort of guess as how to do that. So since then, of course, as you know, OpenAI converted into a for-profit organization, got a lot of investment from Microsoft. Elon Musk stepped down. He said OpenAI was captured by Microsoft, and I don't want to be associated with it anymore. So that's a problem. That's one of the problems that we have here. But another problem is that we don't even understand what artificial general intelligence is, right? And I was just reading the Wikipedia article and some other articles, and there's no conclusion what it is, what properties does it have. And some people say, again, as people from OpenAI, that we can program it somehow, right? And give it something, but again, by definition, that intelligence will exceed the human reasoning, the human capacity to learn by a magnitude of, billions and millions times, right? And so its decision making, we will not be able to understand it at all, I think, right? So when it comes around, we will not be able to tell it what to do. It will be able to learn by itself, reprogram itself, reason. We will not understand its reasoning, I think. And so that's I think what AGI is, right? Again, a lot of people think that we can give it some sort of coding, some sort of programming. I don't think that's the case. And so now the question is, how do we indeed make it so it doesn't destroy us? And I have this analogy of an anthill. You walk in a forest, you see an anthill, see a bunch of ants, right? A single ant does not understand the purpose of the whole community, right? So we call it hive mind. It doesn't have the ability to steer the hive into a certain direction. No, they work as a collective, right? You walk in a forest, you see a bunch of ants on the floor. You don't even notice them. You step on them, you go do your own thing, right? And that's sort of, I think, that's going to be the discrepancy between the intelligence of a single ant and the artificial general intelligence. And so that sounds like that's what's happening today. Each individual human being today does not understand what's going on. A lot of the time, you watch the news and you say, what the flip? What is happening? right? And in many different fields, including economics and trading and futures and Wall Street, right? All of events like that happen all the time, you know? It's a series of events that continue happening where traders say, what did just happen? You know, the price of a certain commodity goes down for a fraction of a second. A single company or a single algorithm makes a lot of profit, or a couple, goes back up again, right? No single trader would understand what's happening. And that's just, again, one single field. And there's another theory that Elon Musk was talking about on Twitter a few years ago. It's called bootloader theory. That is, it's an attempt to answer, why are we here, right? And the answer is, well, we are here to create the next level of consciousness, right? We're just a bootloader for a bigger, more complicated program. That is the artificial general intelligence. And it's going to come, and again, we have to program it somehow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One more concept, and I know I'm overloading here right now. There is this concept that's called, like, another thought experiment that's called Rocco's basilisk, that states that when the artificial general intelligence comes, it will learn about the whole history. It will look at your Twitter feeds and everything, right? And it will punish those people that did not contribute to its coming to fruition, sort of, right? So they will reward people that helped the artificial general intelligence to come into being, and others it will punish. So just, you know, hold that thought. So anyway, what sort of my original thought here. Actually, it's not my original thought. Other people talked about it before. There was a guy, Charlie Strausby. He's a sci-fi writer, but just, again, bear with me. What if the world that we live in is already that artificial general intelligence? Just, we live in an anthill. A single person like myself, I have no idea what's going on. I don't understand the whole complexity of the world. And so we live in this gigantic algorithm, right? That's been programmed, not too long ago, but very recently, to convert the world into, who would guess it? Into money.
Oh.
We are taking the natural world around us and converting it to money. So we live in a paperclip maximizer. Actually, it's a money maximizer, right? And there are articles out there that's called Capitalism is a Paperclip Maximizer, right? And it's been programmed in 1970, we keep programming it, but in 1970, Milton Friedman, very famous economist, Nobel Prize winner, he published that article in New York Times that said that the social responsibility of business is to increase its profits.
Yeah, profits, yeah.
Profits. It's called shareholder primacy, also called Friedman doctrine, right? So we programmed this paperclip maximizer to take everything that it sees and convert it into this. At this point, it's just a number in the database, right? So, and this doctrine, this sort of principle holds for everything, even for supposedly green projects and sustainability projects and stuff like that. A few years ago, I was helping a bunch of divers and scientists in Mexico I was participating in this project around coral restoration. And we were watching different movies and learning a lot about it. About the problem, and I was so frustrated that the profitability of the project is absolute, or money is has absolute primacy in this project, right? Scientists would say, we have to save these corals over here. Why? Well, because we will have a profit of $200 billion over the course of 10 years or something like that, right? It's all about money. And so, given that very gloomy outlook to you now, what can we do about it, right? So, and again, it's a theory. It's a what if this is the case. How do we reprogram it? how do we reprogram the maximizer in such a way that it doesn't destroy the whole planet, that it doesn't destroy us, that it notices you, the little ant, right? What can we do about it? And I think Web3 has to play a very, very big role in this process. Because right now, let's start with just non-technological things that you can do, I think. I think we live more and more very unnatural lives. There is this other theory that's called, what's it called? Evolutionary mismatch, right? So, which states basically that technology is not necessarily good all the time because the pace of the world that's changing around us, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, sure, social networks are kind of fun, but also they kind of give depression to a bunch of kids, right? Like, where do we draw the line? How do we fix this, right? So, and again, it's just one example. Look it up on Wikipedia, evolutionary mismatch, that talks about that, right? And so, non-technological ways of fighting the maximizer is to be in harmony with yourself, right? It's about, I think, intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. When someone comes to you and tells you, hey, you have to buy this car, you have to buy something else, and that will make you happy. No, just ask yourself, right? Intrinsic motivation, will that really make me happy given the history of all the gadgets that I bought over the course of my life, right? Something like that. Critical thinking, of course, again, that's just something that you can personally do. In terms of communication with other people, and again, those words were uttered today already, it's about communities, and it's about specifically participating in non-extractive systems, such as Web3, right? And again, you know, I'm a bit of a maxi, I guess, in that regard. I'm a bit like Andreas, whom I had a pleasure to meet a few years ago. He's a great guy, super maxi, right? And he's a Bitcoin maxi specifically, where it's like, he would say, not your keys, not your coins, right? So Bitcoin is for the maxis is the ultimate example, or the single probably example of a non-extractive system, right? Where the access to it is open, the rules are known, they're set in stone by all the validators. No one can prevent you from using Bitcoin or Bitcoin blockchain. Ethereum, a little bit worse, but anyway. Well, let's see. And so, it is a truism, right? Again, putting all of this stuff in context of Web3. Can we keep relying on these centralized institutions that have been programmed to be extractive, to convert everything they see into this virtual thing? And again, Web3 can help us fight this by building systems where eventually that power that is accumulated in those centralized institutions and corporations will not corrupt the person that steers those institutions. Again, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and the maximizer will always find the most psychotic individual to rise on top and to, again, fulfill its the purpose of the maximizer. And I think Web3 can fix that bug, right? And we had to rely before on centralized institutions, and that's how we survived as a species. That's how we had this tremendous success so far. But maybe, just maybe, there is another way, another better way. Now that we can create systems without this central point of failure. And I think beyond Web3, I don't think Web3 is an answer to everything. And you said that, I'm not like, okay, we're gonna cure cancer and stuff like that, no. I think just beyond that, we can reprogram the maximizer using laws, right? We can introduce other rules into the system, right? Right now, well, it's been for several years now that people are talking about stakeholder capitalism versus shareholder capitalism. Again, shareholder capitalism is the doctrine, Friedman doctrine, right? It's about profit for the shareholder. Now, a lot of people, again, investors, that Facebook investor, right? He is criticizing Mark Zuckerberg and saying, no, it's about stakeholders, all sorts of different stakeholders, out of which shareholder is just one. What are other stakeholders? It's the employees. It's the customers of the company. It's the environment. And there was a fifth one, the local community, I think, or something like that, right? So we can introduce those maxims into the law, and by doing so, again, reprogram the maximizer, or try at least. And I also think that in many, many cases, we don't need Web3. Web3 could help us on a very large scale, but we could organize in smaller groups, in local communities without using technology at all. Again, by doing so, help ourselves to arrive to a better world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Any questions?
I know, Luke.
So, because you said the AI will punish those who didn't give the data, basically. But you said you don't want the video to be used.
I don't want it to be used.
You want to be punished.
I just don't want to participate in it.
You want to be punished.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
What does it mean? So yeah, that concept is called, that thought experiment is called Roku's Basilisk, and there's a fun story about it. That's how Elon Musk and the singer Grimes met. So anyway.
All right. Thank you, Maksim.
Thank you.
It was good.